Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Dear brothers and sisters, we are now at part 6 towards uh, exploring few mathematical facts of Surah Al-Kawthar, the smallest chapter of Holy Quran. We know that Surah Al-Kawthar has three ayats, and they are Inna a'atainaka al-Kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwal abtar. Before going to discussion, let's share an Excel file where some points are needed to be shared with you. And this is that Excel file. And here the chapter number of the Quran is shown. We know that we have our Holy Quran has 114 chapters, and from 1 to 3, 114 chapters are given at the first column. Then in the second column, the name of the surahs are given, starting from Surah Al-Fatiha, then Baqarah, then Ali Imran, then Nisa, and so on. And lastly, at 114th number, we see Surah Nas, or in 113 we see Surah Al-Falaq, and so on. Our targeted surah, Surah Al-Kawthar, is 108th surah in the Holy Quran, and all the surahs' name are placed at the second column. This third column is regarding the verse number. Here we know that Surah Al-Fatiha has seven verse. Surah Baqarah has 286 verse, and so on. All the verses of the corresponding surahs are placed at the third column, and up to this 114th surah. These are actually placed. Six verse at Surah An-Nas, we know this. And in the fourth column, the verse summation is actually placed. Here, the first summation will be 7 because before 7 there is no surah. So before Surah Al-Fatiha there is no surah. So 7 will be here. And this number is the summation of actually these two numbers. And this number is the summation of these three numbers. This fourth number is the summation of these four numbers, and so on. All the uh, all the summation are actually likewise placed at the fourth column, and we see that the total verse number comes, as we know, 6,236. That means if we add all the verse values of the column C, we will get this number, 6,236. Interestingly, mm, as we know that the number of ayat of Surah Al-Kawthar is 3. So this number 3, has an interesting influence over this calculation. Here we see that before the Surah Al-Kawthar, there is a number, and this number is actually the summation of all these numbers before Surah Al-Kawthar. So if we sum all these numbers, we will get this number, 6,204. And interestingly, this number is divisible by 3. Surah Al-Kawthar has the ayat number 6,005, 205, 6,206, and 6,207. Since this is the summation before Surah Al-Kawthar, so after the three ayahs, these will be the numbers. That means 6,205 to 6,207. These numbers are actually the verse number. If we sum all the ayats, and we will get the representative ayats of Surah Al-Kawthar as these ayat numbers. This is the first ayat, this is the second ayat, and this is the third ayat of Surah Al-Kawthar. And if we add these numbers, we will get a big number, 18,618. And interestingly, this number is also divisible by 3. And if we add the later numbers, if we add the later numbers, these are also the summation of the above surah ayats. If we add the these numbers, we get actually this number 37,000. As you see that if we sum these ayats, we will get 37,000 uh, 341. And interestingly, this number is also divisible by 3. So actually the Excel file tells us these things, and we will see more things or similar explanation in our PowerPoint presentation also. So let's move the PowerPoint presentation, and we see that let's move to the second slide. Uh, this is actually explanation regarding the ayat-based arrangement of Surah Al-Kawthar. We know that the Surah Al-Kawthar has three ayats as here in Al-Kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwal abtar, three ayats. So this line is actually mentioned here. Surah Al-Kawthar has three ayats. Counting from the beginning of the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Kawthar has the ayat number 6205 to 6207, as I have mentioned here. As I have mentioned here, so for 6205 to 6207, this thing actually placed here. And the sum of these numbers is this one, and this is divisible by 3, as I have also shown at the Excel file. Let's move on the next slide. Before this Surah Al-Kawthar, there are 6,204 ayats, as I have shown in this Excel file, that before Surah Al-Kawthar, there are 6,204 ayats. If we sum all the values here before Surah Al-Kawthar, we will get this number. Okay, this number, then this thing is actually mentioned here. The total summation before Surah Al-Kawthar is 6,204, and that means Surah Al-Fatiha has 7 ayats, Surah Baqarah has 286 ayats, and the Surah Al-Kawthar is the 108th surah. But before Surah Al-Kawthar, there is Surah Al-Ma'un. This surah has 7 ayats. So if we add all the ayats, we will get this number. And interestingly, this number is also divisible by 3. Another point is that if we sum 1 to 6,204 up to this value, that means 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, etc., up to 6,204, we will get this big number, and this number is also divisible by 3. If you calculate this thing with your calculator, you will see that this big summation is also divisible by 3. Mind it, Surah Al-Kawthar has 3 ayats. Let's move to the uh, Surah Al-Kawthar has 3 ayats, as we know. After this surah, there are ayats starting from 6,208, and it ends at 6,236. That means Surah uh, Al-Kawthar ends at 6,207th number ayat, and Surah Kafirun starts from 6,208. After 7, it will be 8. So if we add 6, it will be 6,230. So as the sum of from this to this value, from 6,208 to 6,236, the summation is this big number. And interestingly, this value is also divisible by 3. If we add all the numbers here, we will get this number. As I have told, 37,341. This is also shown here, 37,341. And this number is also divisible by 3. So, a very interesting mathematical structure or pattern exists in the positioning of the ayat of Surah Al-Kawthar, even the positioning of Surah Al-Kawthar itself. Let's move to the next slide. We are at the last end. From this presentation, it can be concluded that the position of Surah Al-Kawthar based on ayat numbers is selected with utmost mathematical precision by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are just trying to understand this thing. Therefore, stunning pattern exists in the surah's positioning in Holy Quran. Selection of this surah's position is made in such a way that any change can cause mismatch in calculation. So much beauty in Quran. Subhanallah. That's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.